So as you probably all know, and if you watched any of our videos, bringing plants into the home does a great deal for your mental health and helps clean the air. But let's say you have a super dark house or a super dark office that you're hoping to bring some plants into it, and you don't want to watch them die a slow, terrible death. I'm here to tell you about the different plants that work really well in low light conditions. I'm Sarah Smith. I'm a horticulturist here at Rogers Gardens, and let's dive right into it. So just to clarify, low light does not mean no light. No light is not going to work for any plant. This is where you're going to have to get into some silks in a room. I have a bathroom that has zero light, and I use silk plants in there because there's a lot of really cool silk plants these days that look really pretty and look super convincing, even for me, and I'm super picky. So it does absolutely not mean you can get away with putting a plant in a room that has zero light. So let's think about where your windows are. If it's north facing, you can get away with the plants being about 1 foot to 3 foot away from the window. If it's east or west facing, you got about 2 to 10 feet away from a window, especially if it's a very low light plant. 10 feet works fine. If it's south facing, you're good. You've got like 15 to 20 feet away from all the plants that I'm going to be introducing today. So think about your window placing. If you have windows on both sides of the room, your plant is going to have an even better chance. These plants that I'm going to introduce to you do not need direct sunlight, but they're going to need some sunlight, so that way they have a better chance of photosynthesizing. And what is that? That's something we learned when we were in grade school. That's where a plant is taking the sunlight and converting that energy into sugars for food. All plants need a little bit of that. Nothing is going to survive in no light. If you are dealing with no light, again, let's go back to those silks. There's some super convincing ones that you can get away with, and even the most picky person like me won't even look at it and judge it. So the first plant I want to introduce to you is peace lily. Peace lily is basically immortal. I got a peace lily that I had for about 10 years as a gift before I was really into houseplants, and I treated it so poorly, and it still did really well for me. There's not a lot of houseplants either that will give you flowers, so this is really a great gift. It's really easy, it doesn't need hardly any light, and it will take low water, it will take high water. So if you're one of those new gardeners and you're prone to overwatering, I think new gardeners typically want to water more. A lot of times they're killing their plant with kindness. This is a really good option. If it's in a super low light situation, it will still survive, but you probably won't get a lot of flowers on it. But the foliage is beautiful, shiny and glossy, and really good in any kind of color combination. So I find this works really well in almost any house because it's a really nice, simple kind of basic plant, but it's something that's super easy for low light, super easy for new gardeners, and that kind of immortal plant. If it needs water and you're kind of neglecting it, it will show you. This one's a little bit of a drama queen with the leaves where it will kind of wilt and look sad, but you'll water it and about maybe an hour to 2 hours later, it will perk back up again. So it's a great one to give as a gift for someone who's not a novice to gardening. It's a great one for a really low light area. It will take a good amount of light, but it will take practically no light. Remember, not no light completely, it needs a little bit of that. So make sure that you know where your window is and how far you have it away from the window, but it'll do great for you. This next one is one of my favorites. This is Sansevieria. It goes by a lot of different names. You'll hear it called snake plant, you'll hear it called mother-in-law tongue, but it comes in a lot of different forms and a lot of different colors as well. The one particular one that I really like is this tubular shaped one. So this is Sansevieria cylindrica. This is a great one because it takes really low light, but also doesn't need a lot of water. So if you've got somebody in your life, or you're one of those people that tend to underwater their plants instead of overwater, this is a great one. You can get away with even once a month watering these plants. These are also very kind of immortal in the world. If the only time I see people having issues with it is typically overwatering, so make sure you're not overwatering this one. Once a month is perfect. But it comes in tons of different colors. You can get really tall ones that are great for putting on the floor. You can get teeny tiny ones that are really great for putting on your desk. It is one of my favorites. This is the more traditional style one that you typically see, where it has the flat leaves, but it comes with yellow striping, it comes with white striping, it comes solid green, it comes almost black too. So it's a super versatile plant and incredibly easy, and one of the lowest light plants there are. And what's really cool about this plant too is that this is one of the only plants that actually releases oxygen at nighttime. So there's been a lot of studies about it being a great air purifier and a good plant to have in your house to increase the oxygen levels. This one here is ZZ plant. ZZ plant is really cool. There's a green ZZ plant. There's newer ones out there called Raven. We have them here at Rogers Gardens. They have really beautiful dark foliage on them that are almost black. I absolutely love that one. That one, however, is not as low light as just the traditional green one. So if you've got that one, you want to make sure you get it close to a little bit more light, because that will help darken up the color. But this one's really simple, just like the Sansevieria. It's also very low water. So a lot of times if people kill this, the only way they're doing it is by killing it with kindness and giving it way too much water. This is a super simple one. I love the foliage on it. It's green and glossy, very upright, so it makes a really great accent if you need some height where you have your plant material. This is a beautiful one not to miss out on. Look how adorable this tiny miniature money tree is. These are a really great plant for low light. These are a really common gift. They're typically seen braided like this. You can get tiny ones like this. You can get really big ones too that you can put on the floor, and they're absolutely gorgeous, super simple. They like to be moist, so good for those overwaterers out there, but don't need a ton of water. They don't need a ton of humidity either, so it's a really great simple plant for most households and will work well in most rooms. This is Pothos. This is a really great hanging plant for a low light area. I actually have two on my list that I'm going to introduce to you, but I absolutely love these. One of my oldest plants that I have is a Pothos plant that I've had for probably 18, 19 years now, way before I knew what I was doing. It looks super great now because I'm actually fertilizing it and I'm treating it a little bit better, but it's a simple plant, works well in any room. It has moved to multiple households with me. It's never thrown a fit by changing its location. It's had very low light, it's had very high light, and it's super happy. There's all kinds of beautiful colors. I particularly like this kind of silvery one, but it comes in a neon green, it comes in a solid dark green, there's white variegated, there's yellow variegated. It works in any kind of house because you can get any kind of color, and they're all simple no matter what color they come in. So this is the other trailing one I was telling you about. This is a philodendron. There is tons of different kinds of philodendrons. They all do really well in low light. The split leaf varieties tend to do a little bit better in more light with more humidity to get the split in it. But if you don't care about that and you've got a variety that's not a split leaf type, they do really, really well in low light situations. Good for hanging baskets, good for putting a nice little stake in there so you can wind it up the stake if you want some height, so you can have it trailing, you can have it upright, you can have it in all different kinds of forms. This particular one is Brazil. I have a beautiful one in a very, very low light situation that's got incredibly long up on a bookshelf. It's almost touching the floor, so it's really good for growing pretty quickly and making you feel like a super experienced gardener. So I bet you this plant looks super familiar to you, a lot of you out there. This is spider plant. Spider plant is a kind of old-fashioned plant that I feel like is getting a little bit of a renaissance. It's really beautiful with these long leaves. They get these really cool long runners with little baby plants on the end, so it looks really beautiful up on bookshelves, so you can actually see that cascading down. They were super popular back in like the 70s and the 60s, but really have become popular again. And if you watched my video about clean air plants, you know this is on the list for a really great clean air plant. These ones also are really, really easy in the way that they'll take a lot of water, they'll take a little water, they'll take a lot of light, they'll take a little light, so it's a simple one for all different kinds of spaces. The last plant I want to show you for low light situations is weeping ficus. I think everybody probably knows what ficus is by now. They come in green, they come in variegated. I love, love, love this variegated color. This is a type of ficus, and they're a little tricky to begin with, but they're really simple once you kind of just stick it out. They are one of those plants that doesn't like to be moved around too much. I have ficus who have lost almost all their leaves. I just stuck it out, watered them, and they grew all back. They're not one that's particularly picky about humidity. The water I find is a little trial and error depending on what you have it potted in. They don't want to be too wet, they don't want to be too dry, but they are really easy with low light, which is great. So they do like light, but they do not need indirect light, and they'll absolutely tolerate low light. And it's really great if you want a really tall one, because you can get these all the way up to about 10 feet, which is pretty amazing. They work well inside and outside too. So if you have like that really weird dark area in your garden that nothing seems to thrive in, this will be a great option for you. So don't panic if it loses some leaves. I do find that these tend to be a little dramatic, and if you move them around, they'll go, and all their leaves will fall off. But they do come back really, really simply, and they're one of the easier tall plants to have in your house. So don't fret, even if you have a dark room, there's tons of options and something that will absolutely work for you. Having plants in your house definitely boosts the mood, makes your space so much prettier, and is really good for air purifying as well. So there's definitely something that will work for you. Come in, take a look at all the beautiful stuff we have here. You can ask questions. We have tons of people here who have great advice and can help you find something that will fit in your space. Make sure you check us out on Instagram and Facebook, and check out our YouTube page. We have so many good videos there. You've got a question about a plant, I guarantee we have a video about it, even from things from table settings to making your trees at Christmas time look beautiful. We do it all here at Rogers Gardens. Make sure you sign up for our emails too. You'll find out about all the great things that we have going on here. We always have beautiful programs happening, from spring opening to our hummingbird summer. We have tons of fun things happening, and we have a lot of things here that are super limited. So you don't want to come in and find that the thing you were looking for is completely sold out. So if you're on our email list, you'll know about those things as soon as they come out. And make sure you follow us on all our social media platforms as well. Thank you so much for tuning in. Come in, say hi, be well, be safe, and happy gardening.